The man realized that now he should continue, but suddenly he heard a voice that he did not understand. It was the elves. Captured by the man, who immediately began to help each other to free themselves from the chains, as the guy released all the elves and called the villagers. Even the guards came to deal with the situation, and the guy thought that everything was over. But suddenly he heard a voice and turned around without knowing what is happening, because at that moment everyone was looking at him and staring at him without realizing what was happening, because a few minutes later the guy was standing near the cliff without understanding what those elves had just told him. But the guy turned around and made the only right decision for himself, saying that they would see what would happen, jump down from the cliff, because the guy had just shouted near the cloud of arrows that were pointed at him. But unfortunately, they missed the fact that he does not want to be in this fantasy world, and at the same time there was a childish fight in the temple because of a discipleship issue, but with the appearance of a crowd of wizards willing to become mentors. The situation was quickly resolved in a positive way, as the hero's mentor wanted to obtain this honorary title, and each of them chose their recent and dedicated their disciples. And Princess Steel continued to teach the young heroes that they should visualize the image of magic in their heads, and this must be a very important concentration. And in just a moment the students began to make magic literally come out of their hands. But then one of the students turned to the princess and asked where the mathematical formulas could be applied to. What the princess, upon hearing the word mathematics, asked if he was talking about a subject normally studied by merchants, even if this reduced efficiency, to which the boy commented that he was asking about mathematical formulas necessary for magic, such as the use of calculations for simplification, to which the princess immediately replied that there is nothing like magic. In a moment of insight, the young hero, dressed in his school uniform, was surrounded by the light of knowledge, as if he was gathering wisdom at around him with the palms of his hands. Hero, they did not specify when creating the calluses of the goddesses the need to use addition or subtraction. He asks, reflecting the foundations of knowledge that were transmitted to him by his mentor, the master of mathematics of the orb. Evaluated. His surprise is even more palpable when he continues, I thought I could easily become an archmage with modern knowledge. His palms, even these Eidos forming an ancient Ci and Ms. Sidear points out the error in the explanation, bringing courage and clarity to the conversation. Princess Ethela, it seems that you made a mistake in your explanation. Your words sound like a reminder that even in magic the mathematical formulas apply. Self-confidence and lightness infiltrate the hero's answer. I knew. He realizes that even in this fantastic world where goddesses and magic coexist with everyday life, logic and knowledge are bridges that connect worlds and open doors to new discoveries. With the dark cloak of a sage, whose face is illuminated by the brightness of the magical fire, the old man with the staff continues his explanation with confidence. Since it is the orb being evaluated, I will continue his explanation. His voice is confident and calm, with the depth of knowledge forged over the centuries resonating in her. Her next words are a confession. The princess has only studied theory, so she may not know, but we have created mathematical formulas to make magic more effective. Implicit in this revelation is the recognition that even in the world of magic, there is a place for precision and calculation, that knowledge is a power that transcends even the traditional limits of magic. Then the magical symbols float in the air, mysterious and majestic signs, emphasizing the words of the wise man. As in the wave, we must avoid unnecessary waste of mental energy. These words reflect not only wisdom but also economy, a practicality that even the greatest magicians recognize, and the old man emphasizes to shoot a fireball a great distance. The degree of angle is important. He reminds us that both the direction and the strength of the wind must be considered. It is a reminder that in magic as in life, every detail is important, and that success depends not only on power but also on the ability to control this power with intelligence and calculation. In the hall where magic and knowledge Merge the roar of a powerful explosion is heard symbols of fire. Tear through the air, defying gravity and reality, the magical fire as a confirmation of the theories learned by the students bursts forth, declaring itself majestic and irrefutable. The wise man dressed in a cloak of knowledge and experience addresses his disciple. The hero attacked. You asked about it. It wasn't your voice. It sounds both challenging and encouraging. It invites the student to actively participate in putting theory into practice. It's okay if this old man offers to help. He offers his words, showing an openness to new experiences and a willingness to share his knowledge. In doing so, he doesn't forget the princess, offering her the opportunity to learn the practical application of magic, showing that learning is a path available to anyone who is willing to learn and grow. The princess, a little embarrassed but grateful for the help offered, says a discreet, "Oh, please." Her gaze and gestures reflect a willingness to admit mistakes and learn, showing that even in the role of heroes and rulers, there is always room for learning and self-improvement. In a world where practical magic and authoritarian magic clash, the heroes find themselves facing real challenges. Maybe it's the classroom learning or the preparation for a real battle where every spell and every calculation can make the difference between victory and defeat. Surrounded by mentors, guided and commanding, the students learn magic quickly with their eyes full of determination and focus on the degrees that lead to the magnificent building. A certain god of law can be seen watching his students with satisfaction in his gaze. There is approval of the efforts and achievements of his pupils who are now ready to put their knowledge into practice elsewhere. More reserved, a more calm and intimate scene occurs, a loving treatment. "Anointed, please have a little more patience with me. Are you feeling better?" Now asks a person providing care to another. It is a reminder that behind every great battle, there is not only teaching and preparation but also care, healing, and support. Express the elf princess's maid opens her mouth in surprise. I have the face of someone who has her sudden insight and eventual epiphany may have to do with the lecture she just heard, or with her own experience that opens her mind to new horizons. This is the moment when theory meets reality and the student begins to see deeper than common perception. The goddess in her snow-white attire stands, facing the shadows, reflecting on the limits of her divine abilities. The only thing she could do for him was to ease the pain with medicine. She acknowledges, gravely feeling the limits of her magic and power that have shown themselves to be powerless in the face of simple human suffering. The goddess reveals the miracle to a simple elf who, despite her modesty and lack of royal blood, becomes the object of divine attention. This gesture emphasizes that the gifts of the gods can touch anyone regardless of their origin or status. We will certainly catch this man, so please rest assured. The promise of safety and care comes to the fore here, demonstrating that even in a world where magic exists, there is a sense of responsibility and protection which may point to an act of wickedness by Kazim, indicating a possible author of the suffering. The suspicion also falls on the villagers who may be accomplices. This is one of the things that every community has its secrets, and that sometimes evil may be hidden among those who appear to be mere observers. The concern and determination are evident on the face of Espresso, the elf princess's maid, as she clenches her fists and speaks of the need to inform the kingdom about what is happening in the village. The words, "When I return to the kingdom, I will need to inform this village," immediately express her sense of duty and urgency. A knock on the door triggers the question, "Who's there? Who is there?" And a moment of tension. The answer comes from Espresso, asking for action. "Espresso, it's me, come." In this invitation opens the next stage of their story. When Espresso enters, she discovers that the message has already been received. We receive the news that the mercenaries have lost track of him. This news adds complexity to the current situation, suggesting that there is a deep intrigue behind the actions in the village, and that betrayal may be closer than it seems. Espresso expresses her bewilderment and frustration, doubting the importance of the information she has received. Well, why do I need this information. She questions the meaning of human affairs in the context of her own life and responsibilities, perhaps feeling the weight of responsibility that falls on his shoulders. Espresso's interlocutor confidently and calmly recalls a profound act of salvation that was stronger than any worst-case scenario, including old age. But he saved us from the worst of old age. His words are intended to comfort and remind us that even in dark times there is a light of hope and gratitude. Espresso, still trying to understand the situation, remembers the book about the princess that was in the possession of the mercenary who lost sight of her and questions her role in the story. His actions and questions emphasize that the intrigue is getting thicker and the truth is getting out. It sounds both challenging and encouraging. It invites the student to actively participate in putting theory into practice. It's okay if this old man offers to help. He offers his words, showing an openness to new experiences and a willingness to share his knowledge. In doing so, he doesn't forget the princess, offering her the opportunity to learn the practical application of magic, showing that learning is a path available to anyone who is willing to learn and grow. The princess, a little embarrassed but grateful for the help offered, says a discreet, "Oh, please." Her gaze and gestures reflect a willingness to admit mistakes and learn, showing that even in the role of heroes and rulers, there is always room for learning and self-improvement. In a world where practical magic and authoritarian magic clash, the heroes find themselves facing real challenges. Maybe it's the classroom learning or the preparation for a real battle where every spell and every calculation can make the difference between victory and defeat. Surrounded by mentors, guided and commanding, the students learn magic quickly with their eyes full of determination and focus on the degrees that lead to the magnificent building. A certain god of law can be seen, watching his students with satisfaction in his gaze. There is approval of the efforts and achievements of his pupils who are now ready to put their knowledge into practice elsewhere. More reserved, a more calm and intimate scene occurs, a loving treatment. "Anointed, please have a little more patience with me. Are you feeling better?" Now asks a person providing care to another. It is a reminder that behind every great battle, there is not only teaching and preparation but also care, healing, and support. Express the elf princess's maid opens her mouth in surprise. I have the face of someone who has her sudden insight and eventual epiphany may have to do with the lecture she just heard, or with her own experience that opens her mind to new horizons. This is the moment when theory meets reality and the student begins to see deeper than common perception. The goddess in her snow-white attire stands, facing the shadows, reflecting on the limits of her divine abilities. The only thing she could do for him was to ease the pain with medicine. She acknowledges, gravely feeling the limits of her magic and power that have shown themselves to be powerless in the face of simple human suffering. The goddess reveals the miracle to a simple elf who, despite her modesty and lack of royal blood, becomes the object of divine attention. This gesture emphasizes that the gifts of the gods can touch anyone regardless of their origin or status. "We will certainly catch this man, so please rest assured." The promise of safety and care comes to the fore here, demonstrating that even in a world where magic exists, there is a sense of responsibility and protection, which may point to an act of wickedness by Kazim, indicating a possible author of the suffering. The suspicion also falls on the villagers who may be accomplices. This is one of the things that every community has its secrets, and that sometimes evil may be hidden among those who appear to be mere observers. The concern and determination are evident on the face of Espresso, the elf princess's maid, as she clenches her fists and speaks of the need to inform the kingdom about what is happening in the village. The words, "When I return to the kingdom, I will need to inform this village," immediately express her sense of duty and urgency. A knock on the door triggers the question, "Who's there? Who is there?" And a moment of tension. The answer comes from Espresso, asking for action. Espresso, "It's me, come." In this invitation opens the next stage of their story. When Espresso enters, she discovers that the message has already been received. We receive the News that the mercenaries have lost track of him. This news adds complexity to the current situation, suggesting that there is a deep intrigue behind the actions in the village, and that betrayal may be closer than it seems. Espresso expresses her bewilderment and frustration, doubting the importance of the information she has received. Well, why do I need this information? She questions the meaning of human affairs in the context of her own life and responsibilities, perhaps feeling the weight of responsibility that falls on his shoulders. Espresso's interlocutor confidently and calmly recalls a profound act of salvation that was stronger than any worst-case scenario, including old age. But he saved us from the worst of old age. His words are intended to comfort and remind us that even in dark times there is a light of hope and gratitude. Espresso, still trying to understand the situation, remembers the book about the princess that was in the possession of the mercenary who lost sight of her and questions her role in the story. His actions and questions emphasize that the intrigue is getting thicker and the truth is getting out. More confused in response to her questions, she receives the statement, Espresso, he really saved us. This statement can give her some comfort and the perception that despite all the problems and difficulties that occur around her, there are people who act for the good of others, even in the darkest circumstances. Espresso, confused and indignant, does not hide her feelings. It is not as if we said he should be killed, we just cut the animal. Her words reflect an internal conflict between the cruelty she witnessed and the moral principles she may be trying to follow. The interlocutor says, Espresso, with surprise in his voice, comments, calling them beasts. Her reaction emphasizes the shock of what is happening and the ease with which one can cross the boundaries that separate humans from beasts in the eyes of others. The situation worsens when a third character, Elder Celebes, appears full of determination and persistence. Espresso, what is all this about? His questions and his tone indicate that he is looking for answers and is willing to act to understand the situation. While Espresso stands in front of the door, determined to answer the elder's questions, the situation worsens. Are you okay? Answer my questions soon. Her impatience and anxiety appear on her face as she tries to find the words to explain the chaos that has formed. The film reveals a new facet of the story. A real elven woman whose name means sacred sun in the ancient language demonstrates her magic. She was of royal descent, but because of eternal life, these words make us think about how eternity can affect existence and perception, and how prolonged immortality can change the perspective of life and death. We are facing a difficult scene. The character is chained, symbolizing her suffering and perhaps her fight against her own demons or external forces. Became a toy, especially cherished by the headman of the Karmim, became a toy, especially cherished by the headman of the Kazim. These words suggest that she was manipulated, and that perhaps she was kept in captivity for longer, which only increases her tragedy. The text of the kingdom immediately emphasizes the hopelessness of her situation when a voice says, calm down, old woman, when the kingdom dies, it will all be over. These words create a sense of urgency and desperation, and at the same time carry a sense of mystery, leaving the question, what does it's all over mean? The answer to this question comes immediately. Nothing is over yet. Nothing. Words full of despair and hope, perhaps indicating that the character has a plan or intention to change the course of events. Espresso, visibly shaken, confesses, although I could have run away alone, he freed me. Her words reflect gratitude and amazement in the face of the high sacrifice. She then says, compassion and determination. I bet he was after your eternal life, expressing her assumption about the motives of the one who saved her and emphasizing the importance of life, especially eternal life. Finally, Espresso asks a question that raises the theme of moral ambiguity. Did you know that our Savior used a pact of black magic? This makes you think about the nature of salvation and how sometimes good deeds can have dark roots. The characters share her experiences and discoveries. Kong Hansu, who became a toy in Elder Kazim's games, is weighed on the scales of fate and Raising questions of justice and guilt. Elder Kazum did not appreciate Kong Hansu's longevity and self-destructed, which emphasizes the theme of sacrifice and possibly a clash between personal interests and the common good. Espresso recalls her days in the royal court and how these memories continue to haunt her despite all the changes. Her words, now a relic of the past, reflect a deep reflection on time, the changes and memories that define our identity. Espresso also speaks of the pain and humiliation she experienced, sharing her personal story of suffering and overcoming, which makes her a character with a deep biography and a complex emotional history. These moments reveal the world in which the characters live, where every choice and every action has multifaceted consequences. In a dimly lit room, Espresso, depressed but determined, explains her need to act clear. I'm not you, but I have to meet him. This statement emphasizes her difference from the other person and her willingness to take responsibility despite the possible risks. Her apparently more experienced and concerned person tries to stop her. Elder, you are not in a position. At this moment, her words reflect concern and the understanding that she may not be ready for the challenges that lie ahead. With disapproval and authority in her voice, Espresso emphatically states, if we meet again, do not call me elder. Her words reflect the desire to assert her individuality and perhaps begin anew the chapter in her life. What she says is, do not call me elder. With him sitting on the floor in deep contemplation, a very lofty title for a deceased maiden who is easily disturbed. It is the recognition that behind the facade of strength and power lies human vulnerability and feelings in a somber atmosphere, surrounded by fog and obscurity. Gia lies on the floor, weighed down by a heavy, invisible burden you cannot see for yourself. It sounds like a rhetorical question full of despair and doom, suggesting an unseen struggle or inner suffering. The group is faced with an important choice in which a voice suggests heroes who wish to be sacrificed, please come forward. It is a call to sacrifice, to act for a greater purpose, perhaps in the context of a battle or a more global mission. Among the group, the faces express various emotions from wonder to doubt and bewilderment. Wow, what is this? How do they not fully understand the implications of the choice that is to come? Their reactions are varied and human, and then attention turns to the seemingly casual and calm environment. With a cup of tea on the table, we shouldn't be brandishing swords on the training field. The question brings to light the reality of military training versus everyday life, the contrast between expectations and the reality of preparing for battle. The banquet hall glows with a solemn atmosphere. Thunderous thunders announce the beginning of the banquet, where each participant marked as a hero prepares to receive the honors deserved. A toast in honor of the hero or heroes who chose the path of sacrifice praises the noble lord, raising his cup in respect to courage and sacrifice. Energetic yet melancholic shouts of health fill the air, reflecting mixed feelings of pride and anxiety that accompany such moments of greatness. But away from the noise of celebration, a calm voice of reflection and self-reflection arises, as one of the participants comments in surprise, I was surprised to hear what kind of conversation is going on in your ranks. At that moment, the cautious confusion is momentarily replaced by a sudden demonstration that emphasizes that the art of swordsmanship is more than just physical skill. It is an art that requires mind and soul. Captain Richard addresses him, inviting him to join the fight. Captain Richard, would you like to fight? This offer demonstrates not only respect for his skills, but also a spirit of friendly competition and brotherhood among the warriors. In an atmosphere full of expectation and action, a voice is heard in the banquet hall. First, I will show you the fencing you are thinking of. This statement promises to make the introduction to fencing more than just a fight. A young and confident Jin addresses the captain. Captain, demonstrate your skill with the sword. His request brings confidence and a desire to see the skill in action. The action moves into a demonstration in which two characters engage in an elegant contest of skill and strategy. Their movements are so graceful and precise that the audience can't help but applaud. Amazing no matter how you look at it. This is the art of fencing, exclaims a of them, emphasizing that what they are observing is indeed an art form that demands both physical fitness and intellectual prowess. Majestic and confident, the golden-haired commander addresses his opponent with a challenge. This was a good sword dance, commander. Gave me a chance, sir. His words and posture reflect his skill and willingness to take the lead, as well as his respect for his opponent. He continues, addressing the audience. So heroes, now I will show you the true art of the Shin sword that you will learn. He prepares them for a display of skill that should surpass their previous expectations. With charisma and confidence, he orders, Captain, this time I want you to come towards me with all your strength. This statement not only demonstrates his bravery, but also gives the captain the opportunity to show his strength without restraint. The tension increases as Oito gathers his wits to fight back with great honor, shouts, determined and ready to prove his respect for Duo, not as Mayor Dim, as Han and Commander Gods, clothed in brilliant light, swings his sword, creating dazzling patterns in the air. He is the epitome of grace and power, drawing the gaze of the audience in awe of his shining blade. The next photo captures the moment when the two warriors face each other. Their silhouettes clash in a brilliant light. Their swords meet with such force that the light of the clash fills the entire hall, leaving the audience awaiting the outcome of the duel. Oito, defeated, realizes the result of the fight and says, I lost. His face expresses respect and recognition of his opponent's skills, demonstrating a spirit of fair play and sportsmanship. In response to his recognition, the dark-haired commander Urados responds modestly, Captain, your skill with the sword has improved. Thank you very much, sir. This is an exchange of respect and recognition between two masters of the sword who share a common understanding and respect for the art of fencing. Surprise and perplexity are reflected on the faces of those present as they exchange glances, seeking an answer to the question asked by one of the participants. What happened? Perplexity hangs in the air, as palpable as the aroma of freshly brewed coffee. The commander, radiant with confidence and joy, shares his thoughts on the arts. His eyes shine as he speaks of the power that destroys any obstacle and the importance of the art of the sword, which above all must seek efficiency. The enthusiasm of his words seems to awaken the listeners. The atmosphere seems more relaxed. One of the interlocutors agrees with the commander, emphasizing the value of the art of the sword in the search for maximum efficiency. His face reflects action, and his subordinates. A man like the dwarfs who wish to pass on his knowledge. A boy drinking his coffee. Thoughtfully, he is deep in his own thoughts, perhaps inspired by the commander's words or pondering his upcoming training. He exclaims with an expression on his face, "Bu," while the woman hiding her face with her hand makes sounds of disappointment that taste the emotions on their faces, convey a variety of reactions to the recent experience. The commander, beaming with confidence, raises a cup, as if making a toast. His words about the blessing of war are full of promises of the wisdom and power offered by this ancient art. He confidently states that the medicine will allow his students to receive the blessing quickly and safely, and his smile seems contagious. The students of a language school may have had a bad taste of the same medicine. His facial expressions and gestures indicate that the ordeal was not easy, but at the same time his behavior demonstrates sincerity and camaraderie. A man with a serious and determined expression clenched his fist in front of him, shouting one more. His determination and willpower stand out in this gesture. He is ready to overcome any difficulty on the path to mastery. A commander with a cup in his hand and a biscuit nearby advises the students, you will feel better if you eat some biscuits. With his words, he implies that the path of learning may be difficult, but small pleasures will help make it more enjoyable. The young man, with his concentrated gaze and his face slightly distorted with displeasure, makes a sound of disgust. Despite his reaction, he seems ready to continue, confirming his action by saying, yes, of course, sir. Next, we see a young man sitting on a tree branch in a dark and mystical forest. His posture is relaxed, but his eyes are alert. He tells his dangerous adventure, how he managed to survive thanks to his stealthy agility and his ability to hide behind a rocky slope. The next image shows a man running in a narrow space, escaping from the pursuit. There is a sense of urgency in his movements and a look of determination in the eyes of the mercenary who is chasing him. The scene is filled with a feeling of tension and danger. We are transported to the moment when the protagonist is confronted by a guard who seems to be unexpectedly in the fugitive's path. The guard seems perplexed and a bit lost. His facial expression expresses confusion at the sudden threat that presents itself to him. Finally, we see a man standing on a branch high above the ground, preparing to jump down. Predatory beasts await him, ready to attack. The moment is filled with a sense of urgency and determination, emphasized by the cry, "Meat in the tree, meat on the tree." The beasts of the forest, caught up in the excitement of the hunt, roar, announcing their intentions. Their eyes light up in anticipation of easy prey, their powerful bodies tense for the spurt. Their cries are not only of hunger, but also of threat. Meanwhile, a man with a sword and an enigmatic look faces his pursuers with ironic calm. He recognizes the advantage of human ingenuity over animal instinct, even in the face of ferocious predators. The image of the man shows his ascension to attacking action as he frees himself from the earthly bonds and seeks new horizons of knowledge. His figure, flying through the air, symbolizes the will to learn and grow, even in the most difficult circumstances. Finally, we are greeted by the face of the beast, illuminated by a crimson light. His face menaces pain, and his wide smile reveals primitive pleasure and determination. Wild, the personification of the animal instinct and the unbridled fury of the hunter. In a procession in the forest where every shadow can become an enemy, our hero performs an act of mastery with ease and grace. He avoids collisions with predatory beasts, and his falls seem like a dance under the dim light of the forest. As he turns around, he easily comments on his superiority, arising from confidence and skill, calmly observing that three opponents are not a challenge for him. The next moment reveals his reflections on his internal sensations, his perception of the world, and how his body responds to changes. He feels that he has become different, that his vision of the world has changed and even has been blessed, and now he is reflecting on the new information, trying to understand the changes that have occurred with his abilities. The world around him seems to have remained the same, but something inside him has changed, awakening new facets of his being. The dialogue between the young hero and the mysterious creature dressed in the cloak of night unfolds before us. He addresses him with a question that sounds like a riddle, emphasizing the mystery and ignorance they share. The perspicacity of the character's mind shines through in his words as he asks questions to which he does not know the answer, showing a thirst for knowledge and understanding of his new world. The next image shows us his confidence upon meeting the direct gaze of destiny, ready to face the new challenges and enigmas that life presents to him, and thus the encounter with the predator turns into an unexpected exchange. The hero asks a question about his own transformation, exploring the limits of his new self. The final twist of events introduces us to the beast, who seems to share some secret with the hero, linked to a dark force that both understand and respect. A powerful man is the epitome of the art of wielding the flame sword of wrath, while his companion, our hero, watches the action with respect and realizes that even this power can be vulnerable, that the perfect weapon does not always guarantee victory. The beauty and power are concentrated in the face of the goddess, who recognizes with self-critical sadness her current limitations. Despite her achievements and the increase in her power, the character reflects on strength, strategy, and disguise, how appearances can be deceiving and how sometimes it is important to hide your true abilities for the surprise bond. And now the predator takes a new look. The cunning and skill of communicating these creatures are important, and the hero tries to find common ground using his intelligence and observation. Reflects the complexity of a world in which the hero needs to maneuver between strength and intelligence, between fighting and diplomacy, to succeed and survive in a game of dialogues in which each exchange of words is a step on the fine line between understanding and misunderstanding. The hero and the predator exchange lines full of underestimation. The predator, shining with his primordial confidence and thirst, tirelessly repeats his desire for flesh in a single word, demonstrating his simple but powerful instincts. The hero, in turn, explores the limits of this communication, seeking to understand what actions are behind these simple requests. He asks questions in an attempt to find a path to a deeper understanding of the essence of his interlocutor. As a researcher, he realizes that he will need more information, more observations, to better understand the world of GNS and their interactions with other creatures. His gaze is drawn to the depths of the mystery that he intends to unravel, calculates his chances and possibilities, seeing the predator not only as a threat, but also as a source of knowledge. Perhaps he sees the world through the eyes of a predator, which will allow him to better understand the complex ecosystem in which he is forced to survive in the hall, where the echo of the footsteps mixes with the voices of the speech, the word about magic and talent, about the fact that mastering magic requires not only innate abilities, but also resources, time, and money. This statement emphasizes that mastery is not just a gift, but the result of a lot of work and investment. The discussion around the table is revitalized when a person in the conversation adds that the art of wielding the sword comes from the soul and from practice, not just from wealth. Amidst the noise of the cafeteria, a voice stands out with its insistence, asking for more, as if to emphasize that there is no limit to the desire to learn and improve, even if it involves something as simple as a cup of tea. And then suddenly a lesson emerges. The hero learns that even stones can be a barrier for those who consume too much, reminding us that all our actions have consequences and that moderation should be known in everything, including pleasure. A young man, overcome with determination, faces an obstacle but perseveres, saying that he intends to become stronger no matter what happens. His determination is not weakened even when faced with adversity, and he strives to be different from those who give up in the face of adversity. The advice about the benefits of honey tea sounds like a reminder that small problems can be solved with the simple pleasures of life. The hero accepts this advice, seeing it as a chance to improve his situation. Then the focus shifts to the importance of consistency and moderation. The statement that a cup of tea a day is the norm emphasizes the importance of a moderate approach to any pleasure or practice. The hero, upon hearing this, enthusiastically decides to follow this principle, finding in it encouragement and an opportunity for personal growth. The moment emphasizes that the true skill and blessing of a warrior is a journey that requires time and patience, reminding us that no significant success is achieved overnight, just as a child does not become an adult overnight. These words serve as a reminder that greatness is achieved slowly through consistency and hard work. In a saga of growth and self-improvement, our hero faces the dilemma of waiting too long to achieve his goals. He expresses dissatisfaction with the time the journey may take, but at the same time realizes that individual differences are important and that with continued determination, the goal can be achieved more quickly than it seems. Moving from doubt to determination, he turns to the mystic text for more understanding and guidance. This moment of revelation, when knowledge becomes available, fills him with a sense of wonder and possibility. The wise mentor acknowledges the hero's efforts, and his congratulations act as a blessing, giving the hero further inspiration and confirmation of his aspirations. Ultimately, the hero's self-confidence is strengthened. He is determined to move forward regardless of the difficulties he faces. This is a reflection of inner growth and development, supported by the knowledge and support of those around him. In the next chapter of his journey, our hero faces a new challenge. His noble and confident mentor promises to teach him how to hide his true abilities, a fundamental skill for anyone aspiring to greatness. This lesson emphasizes the importance of strategy and subtlety in the art of war. After days of following a gnome in search of the power of the flesh, the hero is Faced with an unexpected reality, he may not be what he expected, but each experience teaches him something valuable. When he encounters a powerful enemy, his reaction is a mixture of horror and admiration. Perhaps he begins to realize that the power of the flesh has a deeper meaning than just physical strength. It is also about strength of character. And will the art of combat is not just the handling of weapons, it is the art of controlling oneself, your fears and desires. And our hero, although dazed, continues to learn and grow in the face of these lessons. The hero of our story, endowed with a new perception and determination, faces a severe test. He tries to use his skills against a powerful opponent, but discovers that the battle is harder than he anticipated. He assesses his opponent and is surprised to notice that despite his imposing appearance, he seems surprisingly weak. This moment of disappointment causes the hero to rethink his ideas about strength and power. He begins to realize that external appearances can be deceiving and that true power may lie within. Astonished, but not defeated, the hero asks the decisive question, questioning the level of his opponent. He seeks confirmation of what he sees before him, and perhaps looks for a weakness that will allow him to gain an advantage. Despite the unexpected and the uncertainty of the situation, our hero maintains mental clarity and is ready to continue the fight. Using new knowledge and strategies, this journey becomes another step towards mastery and understanding of the underlying laws that govern the world in which he is forced to survive. The battle continues, and our hero shows his determination and courage. The encounter with the giant opponent becomes a test not only of his fighting skills, but also of his spirit. The opponent, despite his impressive strength, seems confused and finds no place for the hero's provocative questions. The hero, in turn, tries to understand how a giant like him can be so weak and ponders that true strength may not lie in physical data, but in the ability to use his skills effectively. With each page, he delves deeper into the mysteries of this world, realizing that each creature, each enemy, can teach him something new. He learns to read between the lines, realizing that even enemies can teach him valuable lessons. And when he faces another challenge, he is no longer the same person he was before. He has grown stronger and wiser, and is now ready to overcome any obstacle in his path. The hero is confronted with an unknown danger. Following his own thoughts about the enemy's characteristics and various information, he looks in the direction of the and asks what is out there. In response, the enemy shouts that it is elven flesh, many tons, denoting the abundance of prey and its greed. The hero shares his knowledge about the origins of his opponents with confidence and firmness. "Oh ye, I have discovered the location of the village from where the elves who ambushed me came." His words express a deep understanding of the situation and confirmation of the truth he has learned, perhaps through his past battle or from inferences. The climactic moment of the creature's rage when it claims its flesh and is bad, perhaps indicating betrayal on the part of the elves, causing it to rage and seek revenge. A character who seems to note thoughtfully that rabbit meat tastes good, which may indicate his attitude towards what is happening around him or his strategic thinking about how to use this information in battle, and the possible transformation or strengthening of the enemy. When the hero notices how the power in the gnome's stomach begins to grow every time he eats something, it is a moment of revelation that can change the course of the battle and open a new chapter in their confrontation. The hero, with a smile on his lips and enlightened by inner insight, tells the opponent it was much simpler and easier, compared to the old man who used black magic to beautify the vital essence, although the efficiency was inferior at that time. "You are tired now." He calmly stands in front of the powerful enemy, who only hesitates to emit a grr sound. He is answered by the enemy's roar, full of renewed vigor and desire for battle. "Fed up, I am feeling very good." His voice echoes through the neighborhood, reflecting the sudden burst of energy and perhaps the new skills he has acquired. His voice echoes through the neighborhood, reflecting the sudden burst of energy and perhaps the new skills he has acquired. "Flesh, I need more flesh, much more flesh." His hunger is uncontrollable, and it seems he will not stop until he satiates his thirst for power. The climax of this drama awaits us. The enemy, full of rage and power, shouts, "My flesh, his eyes shine, and he seems more powerful and dangerous than ever. The hero, although he seems overwhelmed, still maintains his composure and willingness to act. Despite the increase in the enemy's power, the hero, with coolness and clarity mental, expresses his gratitude to the opponent by saying, "Thank you very much, thanks to you. I discovered it is called the power of the flesh." Unequivocally, his face reflects confidence and contentment as he holds the shining stones that exude a mysterious light while the hero holds his stones tightly. His opponent in the background loses strength and falls to the ground, confirming the hero's words about the power of the flesh. The discovery that the hero made seems to make even the most powerful of enemies flee from a defeated enemy who says the speaking flesh is weak. How his disappointment and bewilderment at being weaker than he expected makes him vulnerable and exposes his supposed invulnerability. The hero, standing with stones in his hands, shines with confidence and strength. He remembers his recent past with the enemy, recognizing that despite the difficulties, the ordeal was extremely rewarding for him. His eyes glow red, showing his determination and ability to use his new knowledge to his advantage. "It is thanks to you," snapped by an arrow standing on a defeated enemy. The hero pronounces majestically, "The speaking flesh." He is also thin. His figure stands against the fading darkness, and in his hands the mysterious stones continue to glow as if symbolizing his power and his newfound knowledge. He turns his gaze somewhere in the distance and calmly states, "No, I am human." His red eyes pulse, as if reflecting his inner fire and determination, contrasting with the cold calm of his display of strength. Reflecting on what is happening, the hero concludes something like a chemical reaction that occurs because of this incredible blue emotion. His words reflect a deep understanding of the nature of the power he now wields. With a hint of further developments, he adds, further leaving a sense of unresolved mystery and anticipation of future discoveries. At the end, a mysterious character appears hidden in the shadows, reflecting on a legend that says a certain god opposed the outsider's change, and that this is the power of the flesh. The character responds to this with confidence. "I don't think anyone can take advantage of this." His self-confidence that he feels invincible because of his new abilities and knowledge. The hero, immersed in reflection, recognizes the importance of the moment. He used the power of the exhausted vital energy, giving him the opportunity to survive. "If I had not had the blessing of a stranger, I would not have died the moment I used the power of the exhausted vital energy." His face expresses a deep reflection, and that it seems that the dwarves are always filling him with flesh. The next moment reveals a vivid image blessing the stranger before he runs out of energy, allows him to free himself from fatigue and be reborn, creating an endless cycle of recovery. He chuckles as he thinks about the possibilities of this new power. Could this be even cooler? His wit and lightness of humor do not diminish, even in the face of the mysterious silhouette that notices that the hero is acting very childishly. The mysterious silhouette that represents some kind of god claims that the hero is underestimating his new abilities, but the hero faces this challenge with ease and boldness, ready for new adventures and challenges to be overcome. In the middle of a dark forest, the creatures discuss has the promise of its power, and one of them says with astonishment, "The smell of flesh," where this shows its simplicity and yet the dependence of this element for survival. The situation quickly moves to a more dynamic phase when the hero shoots with the determination of a lightning. "Get out of my way." His energy and willpower are reflected in all his movements as he pushes the enemies back, leaving them without a chance. The mysterious silhouette reappears, watching the development of events, and despite being satisfied with what is happening, ZA comment on the naivety of the hero, who takes it as an additional incentive for action. The hero, despite the mockery of his invisible mentor, is confident in his path and recognizes that despite having become stronger, happiness continues to be difficult for him. This is a reflection of the internal conflict between power and personal happiness. He remembers the need to use a smartphone under a blanket as a symbol of his previous habits and his isolated comfort, contrasting this with the current dangers and challenges he faces in the real world. The hero continues on his path, striving despite the difficulties, emphasizing his determination and willingness to overcome any obstacles on the path to his goal, even if it means fighting an entire forest of incendiary monsters. Under the gaze of the celestial guide, who indicates the direction, the hero responds with gratitude. "Oh, thank you." His distant look reflects his willingness to follow the path, and he ponders his next steps, decides with irony in his voice, "Okay, now I must go and punish these fantastic barbarians by the power of imagination." Reflecting on his new adventures gives him confidence in his abilities. Continuing, the hero admits that his attempt to go unnoticed was not as successful as he had hoped. "I was going to go unnoticed, but the guards are better than I expected." This shows that his plans need to be adjusted to suit the new circumstances. Fortunately, he has the necessary knowledge and training. Observing, "It is good that I have memorized the layout of the village in advance." This emphasizes his strategic approach and his ability to adapt to changing situations. The hero walks confidently and determinedly as he advances through the night, aware of each step he takes on this mission full of uncertainties and possible dangers. The mysterious figure points the way again, this time more insistently. "A certain god asks you to go now." The hero, with irony in his voice, answers. His reaction reflects his surprise and perhaps bewilderment at the unexpected turn. The surprise continues when the same figure declares, "A certain god insists that it is time for us to move." The hero asks a sarcastic question that reflects his skepticism. Why is he suddenly trying to be helpful? I really don't understand what's going on in his mind, but it shows that despite his power, he is still searching for direction and meaning in his adventures. The character is willing to follow his instincts as his thinking. "My instincts say the same thing." This emphasizes that he trusts his inner voice to guide his actions. As he courageously accepts the challenge, he asks himself, "Can I do this?" before resolutely declaring, "This is my chance." His determination and willingness to act are the epitome of his character. He is ready to face any challenge and overcome any obstacle in his path. The hero looks up at a mysterious figure floating in the air that seems to be pointing in his direction. His response sounds like a mixture of astonishment and slight irritation. He clearly wasn't expecting this turn of events. Then, standing on the ground, he hears the same god say, "It's time to set out on his journey." The hero comments this, thoughtfully doubting the intentions of his unseen mentor. The next moment, he sneaks past the guards, wondering about the quality of their service. "Phew, there's no one on guard here. I'm lucky," he says, sighing in relief. The mysterious mentor reappears, reminding us to thank him, to which the hero responds ironically, "Oh yes, thank you, I'm eternally grateful." Your Tom seems irreverent, but deep down he appreciates the clue. The next scene shows the hero seemingly ready to spring into action, but his face expresses a thoughtful expression. Then, stunned, the helmeted guard opens his eyes wide, as if something had made him freeze. Suddenly terrified, he unexpectedly discovers a stealthy attacker whose bright red eyes flicker in the shadows, suggesting hidden power and danger. The sudden attack robs him of even the ability to scream. The hero's piercing red eyes now shine even brighter. His movements are quick and precise, and his face is contorted in a predatory smile. The tension of the moment is almost palpable, and there is a sense of imminent collision in the air. The hero positions himself over the defeated enemy, with his silhouette standing out against the dim city light. "It's a bit bitter that I can't feel the difference between a human and a gnome," he ponders aloud, and his words are full of regret and contemplation of the meaning of the act. The final image shows the hero advancing without mercy, leaving behind the bodies of the fallen. These people may have those who mourned them, but his words are interrupted, and we are left to guess the continuation of his thoughts as he continues his journey in the darkness. In the semi, against the columns, "I forgot of by God is a hooded figure with his head hidden in a deep hood and, "Because of you I almost died without seeing you again," he comments bitterly. Looking at the lifeless body under his feet, the words coming through the mask of indifference reflect an underlying pain and a determination not to let any obstacle stand in his way. Henderson's film shows us a stunned hero who looks at his mysterious mentor surrounded by a luminous halo. God looks at you defiantly, he says, as if a challenge had been thrown to fate itself, and his gaze is determined and defiant of the unknown where the shadow mingles with the light. The hero ponders the consequences of his actions. If so many people have died, no one noticed. Too silent. His words are full of doubt and a sense of unease as he stands over the body of an enemy who has lost all value. Finally, he looks over his shoulder with his face expressing bewilderment and busyness. Sneaking in here was very exciting, but I only saw tips like I will start a villain. The reflection on morality and the consequences of his actions accompanies him as he prepares for the next steps in the unexplored darkness. In the dim light of the uncertain space, under the weight of a suspended luminous wing, a mysterious figure looks down at the young hero from his elevated position. "A god looks down at you," says the inscription, as a sublime reminder that fate and the gods are not always on the side of mortals. The perplexed and somewhat lost hero faces a reality in which villains can hide, even in the bathroom, raising questions about the nature of evil and where it can take refuge. Meanwhile, the cloaked figure continues to hover over the hero as if its presence penetrates every corner of his mind. "Do not be evil," she warns, and in her voice, one hears an echo of wisdom and a warning about the moral choices that the hero will have to face elsewhere. In a world where the light of a torch shines in the darkness, three travelers stand side by side with their faces tense in anticipation. They say a word, but their looks and postures say more than any words could express. Then our hero looks over his shoulder again with an intrigued look and full of interesting thoughts about the turn of events. His words hang in the air, foreshadowing new challenges and the inevitable changes that will come with each passing day.